You ever notice how everyone tells you, move closer to your kids, it'll be easier as you get older? Sounds nice, right? Like some Hallmark version of retirement. You picture backyard barbecues, grandkids running around, your daughter dropping by with leftovers. But then reality hits. Suddenly you're not living near your kids, you're living in their orbit. You can't sneeze without someone asking if you're okay. Now don't get me wrong, family is a beautiful thing. But I've seen this go sideways for a lot of folks. What starts as a sweet idea turns into a slow tug-of-war between love, independence, and everyone's sanity. Today, we're talking about why living close to your kids in your later years might not be the dream setup everyone makes it out to be, and what you can do instead to stay happy, connected, and free. So grab your coffee or your evening tea, no judgment here, settle in, and let's talk about the 10 real reasons why sometimes keeping just a little distance can save your peace, relationships, and maybe even your sense of humor. Number 1. Boundaries blur and resentments simmer. Here's the thing. When you're living close to your kids, same street, same neighborhood, or heaven forbid, the same house, boundaries have a funny way of melting like butter in the sun. In theory, you're still two separate adults, right? They have their life, you have yours. But in practice, that invisible fence starts shifting. Suddenly, you're involved in little things that aren't really your business, and vice versa. You might pop by to drop off cookies, and 5 minutes later find yourself giving unsolicited advice about their parenting. Or they might show up at your place to check on you and start rearranging your kitchen drawers for efficiency. Before you know it, small annoyances start simmering like a slow cooker. You think, I didn't move here to become free childcare. And they think, I didn't ask you to critique my dishwasher settings. Nobody means harm. But when people live too close, everyone forgets to knock, literally and emotionally. I remember one woman on a forum saying she moved right next door to her daughter, thinking it would bring them closer. Now, she said, we're so close we can't stand each other. She joked that she had to hide in the laundry room when she saw her daughter's car pulling up because she couldn't handle one more, "Can you just favor?" That's the trap. When you're nearby, every small favor feels like no big deal. Can you grab the kids for 10 minutes? Can you water the plants? Can you drive me to the shop real quick? But those 10 minutes here and there start eating up your day and your peace. And it works both ways. Maybe your kids start feeling like they can't relax because you're always around. They begin to tiptoe around your feelings. Should we invite mom to dinner again? She'll be hurt if we don't. That's how simple togetherness becomes quiet tension. Boundaries are like oxygen, invisible but vital. And when you lose them, everyone starts gasping a bit. 2. You lose your sense of own space and identity. Now this one's sneaky. It doesn't hit you right away. When you first move near your kids, it feels comforting. Familiar faces, laughter, the grandkids running in and out. You think, this is what I wanted. Family, connection, warmth. But over time, something subtle happens. You start to feel like a background character in someone else's movie. Your routines get rearranged around their schedules. Your sense of rhythm, your privacy, even your home life starts to blend with theirs. It's death by 1,000 tiny adjustments. I knew a man named George, retired Navy guy, who used to go fishing every Thursday morning, rain or shine. He said it was his time to think. When he moved to be near his son, that ritual slowly vanished. Thursday mornings turned into babysitting days, then errands, then, "Dad, can you wait for the plumber?" He laughed when he told me this, but there was a bit of sadness behind it. "Now," he said, "the only thing I catch on Thursdays is fatigue." You stop doing the little things that define you. Maybe you used to listen to your favorite music while cleaning. Now you keep it quiet because the kids are working from home. Maybe you used to garden in peace. Now you find tiny sneakers trampling your marigolds. It's not malicious. It's just proximity, doing what proximity does, merging lives until you can't tell where yours ends and theirs begins. And the irony? You moved there for comfort and belonging, but after a while, you can start to feel invisible. One lady said, "I love being close to my daughter, but I feel like I became part of the furniture, useful but unnoticed." That one stuck with me. That's why it's so important to keep a strong sense of your world, your routines, your friends, your hobbies, your space. Because if you don't, you'll slowly fade into the background of someone else's story, and you deserve to remain the main character in your own. 3. The caregiver burden falls on someone, even if not you. Now this one is a bit heavier, but it's real and it's the one most people talk about. Everyone assumes that moving close to their kids will help them, make things easier, keep family connected. And yes, it might, for a while. But what happens when the tables turn? At some point, someone's going to need help. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's them. Either way, caregiving sneaks into the equation, and suddenly, you're living in a bubble of unspoken obligation. When you're nearby, your kids often feel like they should step up, even if they're already drowning in their own responsibilities. They can't say no without guilt, and you can't ask without feeling like a burden. It's this quiet, emotional tug-of-war that wears everyone down. I remember reading about a lady who talked about how their mother moved into a house down the street. At first, it was great. Dinner together, shared chores. But as the years went by, she found herself handling her mom's prescriptions, appointments, and bills. "It's not that I don't love her," she wrote. "It's that I don't have any energy left for myself." That line, "I don't have any energy left for myself," that's the hidden cost of proximity. And on the flip side, sometimes the parent ends up becoming the default helper, like free backup support. One senior man joked, "I moved here to relax, not to become Uber for grandkids." But underneath the humor was exhaustion. When you live close, it becomes easy for both sides to lean too hard, not out of malice, but out of convenience. And the truth is, nobody wants to feel like an obligation. You don't want your child resenting you for needing help, and you don't want to resent them for not giving it. Yet when you're nearby, that emotional math never quite balances. It's not that caring for each other is wrong. Far from it. It's beautiful when family steps up. The trouble comes when it's assumed instead of agreed upon. When the help becomes an expectation rather than a choice, the love underneath it starts to sour. So the key, my friend, isn't avoiding love or closeness. It's keeping enough distance, emotionally and geographically, that help remains an act of choice, not duty. You'll find that both you and your kids breathe a little easier that way. 4. You're always reachable, and that's exhausting. You know that feeling when your phone buzzes and your first thought is, "Please, not again." That's what I mean. When you live near your kids, you suddenly become part of their on-call support system, even if you didn't sign up for the job. It starts innocently. A quick text. "Hey mom, could you swing by and watch the kids for 10 minutes? Then maybe another. "Dad, the Wi-Fi's down. Can you come look at it?" Next thing you know, you're starring in your own reality show. Retired, but never off duty. And heaven forbid you don't answer right away. You'll get that follow-up message that sounds casual, but drips with guilt. "Everything okay? You didn't pick up." The truth is, proximity makes everyone a little lazy with boundaries. If you were 2 states away, they'd figure out how to handle the Wi-Fi, or call a babysitter, or Google it like the rest of us. But since you're right there, why not mom? Why not dad? And so you end up in this endless loop of being reachable. Now don't get me wrong. It feels good to be needed. It really does. There's a sweetness in being part of their world. But being always available is like keeping your front door unlocked 24/7. Sooner or later, someone's gonna walk in when you're napping in your pajamas, drooling on the couch. I once talked to a retired nurse named Linda who lived 2 blocks from her son. She told me, "I love him to death, but I had to start pretending my phone died after 7 p.m. or I'd never get through a movie." She laughed about it, but there was a quiet truth there. We all need to unplug sometimes, literally and emotionally. You see, when you're reachable all the time, your brain never gets a real rest. You're always on alert for the next, "Can you help?" or "Can you stop by?" And that constant availability, it's the quickest path to hidden fatigue. So yes, being close is lovely, but you've got to protect your peace like it's a rare antique, because if you don't, everyone will mean well, and you'll still end up running around like the unpaid family assistant. 5. Loss of autonomy in decision-making. This one's tricky. It usually doesn't start with control. It starts with care. Your kids want what's best for you. They love you. They worry. They want you to be safe. But sometimes that safety slowly starts sounding like control. One day they're suggesting what doctor you should see. Next, they're managing your prescriptions. Then they're helping you pay bills, which really means they're paying for you and tracking every dollar. And before you know it, you're sitting there wondering when your life turned into a group project you didn't ask to join. I remember a man named Walter who said moving closer to his daughter was like handing over the steering wheel but still sitting in the driver's seat. He'd say, "I don't even know where we're going anymore, but I'm told it's for my own good." He was joking, mostly. The loss of autonomy isn't always loud or dramatic. It's those little things, like someone else deciding what's best for your diet, or when you shouldn't drive anymore. It's when your opinion starts being heard, but not necessarily considered. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Sometimes we accidentally let it happen, because we think, well, they're just trying to help. I don't want to argue. But slowly, that people-pleasing turns into silence, and silence turns into dependence. I saw a YouTube comment once where a woman wrote, "My daughter means well, but she's turning me into a houseplant, watered, fed, and told to sit near the window." It was funny, but I swear half the comment section nodded in agreement. When you live nearby, your kids see everything. What you eat, how you walk, when you sleep, and they start to correct things without realizing they're robbing you of agency. They forget that even if your body's older, your spirit's still capable of choosing. And the older we get, the more precious that autonomy becomes. You've earned the right to make your own decisions, even the silly ones. If you want to eat ice cream for dinner, that's your business. If you want to walk around the block twice a day, that's your call. Proximity can make kids forget that, and it's your job to remind them, lovingly but firmly. I may be old, but I'm still the captain of this ship. 6. Social circle contraction and isolation. This one might surprise you because people often assume the opposite. They think, if I move closer to my family, I'll never feel lonely again. But what actually happens for many folks is the exact reverse. You leave behind your friends, your familiar shops, your routines, your neighbors who know you by name. You think, I'll make new ones, but that's easier said than done. Because when you live near your kids, your social life starts orbiting around their world, their schedules, their circles, their grandkids' soccer games. You stop going to your own events because, well, the grandkids' recital is the same day. You skip your old bridge club because your daughter needs help with a delivery. Slowly, your world shrinks down to one small radius. Their house, your house, maybe the grocery store in between. One man put it perfectly. I didn't realize how lonely I'd feel living 5 minutes away from everyone I love. What he meant was, he had access to people, but not connection. His kids were busy, his grandkids had their own lives, and his own friends were miles away. He was surrounded, yet isolated. I've seen that too many times. One woman, Sylvia, told me she moved to be near her son, thinking she'd have company. Instead, she said, I spend most days waiting for company that never comes. That one hit hard. The thing is, proximity tricks us into thinking we've solved loneliness. But real connection needs time, not just distance on a map. And when you rely too heavily on family for social interaction, you lose that wonderful patchwork of friendships that keep you grounded. The neighbor who waves every morning, the coffee group that gossips about the weather, the book club where no one actually finishes the book. Those little things are what keep us alive inside. And when you move too close to your kids, it's easy to trade them away without realizing how much they mattered. So if you ever do move near your children, don't forget to plant new roots for yourself. Join a class, volunteer, go to the same cafe every morning until they know your name. Keep your own rhythm, your own tribe. Because while family is a blessing, friends are oxygen. And you'll need both to truly breathe. 7. Duty fatigue and emotional exhaustion. This one sneaks up on both sides. At first it feels nice. You're nearby, you can lend a hand, maybe help with the grandkids, or water their plants when they're away. But before you know it, the help starts to feel like an obligation. Suddenly you're not grandma or dad anymore. You're part of the household workforce. And it's subtle. Nobody means harm. Your daughter might say, "Mom, could you pick up Lucy from school today? I'm swamped." The next week it's, "Could you do dinner? We're running late." Before long, you're juggling everyone else's schedule instead of your own. And on the flip side, your kids start feeling it too. They love you, but they're juggling work, bills, maybe teenagers with attitudes. And then they feel guilty if they don't check on you enough. That's emotional fatigue. Nobody's saying it out loud, but everyone feels stretched thin. I remember reading a post from a woman who said, "I moved close to my daughter to make her life easier, but now both of us are tired all the time, just from trying not to disappoint each other." That hit home. Because when love turns into a list of duties, joy leaks out of the relationship like air from a slow puncture. Sometimes, loving each other from a little distance is the best way to keep the bond fresh. You both show up as your best selves, not as tired caretakers keeping score. 8. The double uprooting and loss in transitions. Imagine this. You sell your longtime home, move close to your kids in another city, and start fresh. For a while, it feels right. New place, new neighborhood, Sunday dinners. Then one day, your son's job relocates him across the country. Suddenly, you're stuck in a town where you don't know a soul, watching their moving truck disappear, wondering, what now? That's the double uprooting. You've lost your old life and the one you moved to build. It's one of the toughest emotional punches many seniors talk about. One woman put it perfectly. "I followed my daughter to North Carolina, then she moved to California. I ended up with no roots anywhere, just boxes of memories and a lease I regretted signing." You see, when we tie our sense of belonging entirely to someone else's life path, we risk losing twice. Once when we leave our own world behind, and again when theirs changes. And kids' lives will change. Jobs shift, marriages happen, divorces happen, grandkids grow up and scatter. The smarter move? Keep your own anchor. Visit often, absolutely. But keep one foot in your world. Your friends, your hobbies, your familiar coffee spot where they know how you like it. Because stability in old age doesn't just come from people. It comes from place, from rhythm, from continuity. 9. Risk of family conflicts being magnified. Let's be real. Every family has its thing. Maybe your son-in-law is a know-it-all. Maybe your daughter still brings up that one Christmas in 1998 when you forgot her gift. When you live nearby, those small quirks can suddenly feel like recurring headlines. The distance that once acted as a buffer is gone. Before, if someone said something irritating at a family dinner, you could drive home, make some tea, and let it blow over. But when you live just down the street, those small tensions don't get the space they need to cool. They simmer. You start noticing tone, habits, little digs. Suddenly, you're analyzing text messages like a detective. One man shared, "I moved next to my son's family thinking it'd bring us closer. Instead, I learned we get along best with a few miles between us." And that's it. Proximity magnifies dynamics. Tiny misunderstandings can turn into emotional landmines. It's not that you love each other any less. It's just that love, like bread, sometimes needs time to rise on its own. The key is remembering that closeness doesn't always mean next door. Sometimes it just means reachable when it matters, not visible every day. 10. You may block your children's growth and your own peace. Now, this one's the hardest to admit. Because deep down, we move closer to our kids out of love, and maybe a sprinkle of fear. We want to stay connected, feel secure, be part of their lives. But sometimes, without meaning to, we start orbiting their world so tightly that it leaves no room for either of you to grow. Your kids might hesitate to take a job in another state because they don't want to abandon you. You, in turn, might avoid building your own life because their plans always come first. Before long, both sides are politely putting dreams on hold for each other, and nobody feels entirely free. And here's the ironic twist. Many seniors who don't move close end up having better relationships with their kids. Why? Because every visit feels intentional, not obligatory. You both bring stories, not stress. There's excitement in the reunion instead of routine in the dependency. One older man said, "I love my daughter, but I also love missing her sometimes. It keeps our bond fresh." That's wisdom right there. Missing someone reminds you how much they mean, and it also gives you space to rediscover yourself. Because let's face it, you've earned your freedom. You've spent decades taking care of everyone else. Your later years should be about peace, laughter, and the luxury of choosing your own rhythm. Whether that's sipping coffee alone on the porch or taking that road trip you've always postponed, it's your chapter now. At the end of the day, living near your kids isn't good or bad. It's about balance. You want love, not dependency, connection, not obligation. It's about keeping that sweet spot where everyone still enjoys each other's company. Not where people start hiding when they see your name pop up on the phone, right? Sometimes the best relationships are the ones that have a bit of breathing room, where you visit because you want to, not because you have to, where you still have your own life, your own people, and your own stories to bring to the table when you do meet. So if you're thinking about moving close to your kids, just take a breath and really think about what kind of life you want to live, not just what makes sense on paper. You've earned your peace. You've earned your freedom. And if you're trying to build that independent rhythm again, where your days feel organized, balanced, and fully yours, check out the senior-friendly digital planner I've pinned in the comments. It's a simple tool that helps you create structure, remember routines, and design days that you enjoy, not just days that revolve around everyone else. And hey, if this video made you think twice, or even just made you laugh, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more conversations like this, and share it with someone who's currently deciding whether to move closer to family. Trust me, it might save them a few gray hairs, because love doesn't always need to live next door. Sometimes it just needs a little space to breathe.